episode 3, because I'm still on that unverified YouTube account. I spent the remaining of the evening trying to wind down and go to sleep at a reasonable hour, but in doing so, I was watching a video by Hormozi again, and I just need to put this down somewhere, because, like the last episode, I guess, I was talking about how lessons are obviously better learned as lessons than they are as stories, but then using the lesson to tell a story, contextualizes it for myself and then puts it in the air and is made more solid somehow, crystallized, right? That's what Hormozi calls it. And so I guess I'm here trying to crystallize a story of his that I just heard, where he goes and talks about scalability, essentially. Stop being broke, get busy. And one of the things that really sticks with me is, like, I'm sitting here talking about how much I like thinking about the actual business and trying to figure out how to use these tools that exist that are so powerful for specific applications to streamline things that need to be done over and over again. And I don't have a thing to get done over and over again at all. So he goes on and says something along the lines of, "Oh, I see these business owners on my website, School." That's that's his thing. I see these business owners talking about how they don't want to start something because it's not scalable. You're making $0 fucking dollars. So what the fuck are you doing all day? You can't be busy and broke. You can't have both problems. You have to pick one. That is me. It's me. Literally, I am that person. I don't want to take a step forward because I don't know if it's scalable. I don't know what I can do with it. And then he goes on to talk about how some famous salesman, who he gives himself the thought experiment. What if I need to write a letter, or what if I need to sell somebody, and it's, or I'll die. And so for the letter writing example, he'll sit down and he'll handwrite the letter. He'll get some nice paper. He'll handwrite the who it's for on the front, the content of the letter, and make it really very personal, because that's not scalable. And the reason it's not scalable, or not the reason it's not scalable, but the reason that he does that is because people are still people. Being sold on something is an understanding. It's a perception. It doesn't have to do with, like, oh, this is the best thing around. This is the best thing around for me, for that person. On the other side of this, though, we live in a world where reaching people is a few cents on the dollar. Google ads, Facebook ads, YouTube ads, all those things. You can reach thousands and thousands of people for pennies, for a few bucks. Well, a good amount of money. But still, what I think hasn't crystallized for me at this point is the power of niches. Niches. The power of niches. I just saw this guy who was selling something, was kind of like doing the knees over toes guy program, selling his body transformation kind of thing. He has 5 videos posted on YouTube, and he has 13,000 members in his school community, which is $14 a month. That is $186,000 a month. This man has 5 YouTube videos. So what happened here? Did he go viral? Did he generate a community of people who were really interested in his strengthening through lengthening kind of sell? 13,000 people. I was just saying in the last episode about how if you spent your entire life, if you spent 40 working years, 30 working years, meeting a new person every hour full time, you'd meet 60,000 people. That's not a lot. But if you got 13,000 of them to give you $15, that's a good amount of money. That's a lot of money. I fear picking wrong, so I don't pick anything at all. Not choosing is still a choice. And I've picked inaction. I've picked the status quo for so many years. And I'm trying desperately to break myself out of that mindset. Anyway, returning to movement gems. That's the guy with the school community. It is short-sighted of me to assume that he garnered his entire reputation and audience through YouTube. But still, there's 150,000 subscribers on his channel. So he converted about, 10% of them, but that's not considering Instagram, TikTok, etc., etc. I have this nasty habit of comparing myself to others, but in this instance, I feel that the comparison is directed more at learning. This is a guy who really did follow exactly $100 million leads or $100 million offers and pulled it off. He's really doing it exactly the way that the book said, to do it. And he's got it. He's got it going on. And so I wonder if I'm really, really overthinking this right now. I wonder if trying to come up with the best thing that I could possibly work on, the most coverage over the biggest audience of things that I am most passionate about, might be overdoing it. I could sell a coaching program and put some longevity information on the internet, make a community out of it, and then hammer that instead of, oh, I need to figure out how to attract quasi-enlightened individuals to my talk show or whatever the fuck that I was thinking of in the first place. Like, why not put together some Brian Johnson light situation and get some lay out how to track your basic vital signs, figure out the ones that are most risky to have in certain areas or certain ranges, and then lay out like a plan to correct them. Like, I don't know, something straight longevity, right? Like just preventative health care, something like that, huh? That sounds like a juicy tagline. Everybody wants to live longer. If you don't want to live longer, you want to die, and that's... I just got demonetized. I don't know. Am I thinking too hard? That's the thing here. Am I thinking too hard about what I can provide and whether or not I should be a master of the craft before I even consider bringing it about somewhere? I don't think so. I think I'm overthinking this. I think it's time to just kind of settle and to try and sell it and see if I can get anything. Here we go. All right. It's been an evening, probably about 12 hours since that's about 5 seconds ago. And while I said I want to settle, I think I'm still on that track, but I've kind of been somewhat passively consuming the media related to marketing in general, businesses, branding. I watched a bit of a Dan Coe video about personal niche. Your personal brand is the ultimate niche because it can't be replicated, that kind of thing. And I've been thinking a lot about that in relation to like, what kind of passion do I have that I'm unable to stop myself? Like, what am I willing to just ramble about all the time? And I think that's health. I think it's educating people. It's transversing the mind in ways that relate back to some kind of health outcome usually. I love talking about mortality, morality, loss, change, manifestation, perception, all of those sorts of things, where the actual expression of these ideas don't come about until much, much, much later. Like, I care about my sleep. I care about my sleep because it changes my perception. My perception of the world is basically the lens through which I view my entire reality. My entire reality is dependent on a good night's sleep, or at least the tint through which I perceive this reality is influenced by a good night's sleep. Kindness as a practice kindness as a practice influences my mind to address people in a more open way, in a kinder way. And that has downstream effects, like what kind of people I'm willing to be around, what kind of judgments I pass on people without knowing anything about them, because I know that that's a reaction. I can monitor myself and my perceptions of people and automatic judgments as closely as I can, but even then, they will come. So if I make it a habit to be kind, then my judgments of people become less harsh. And then that way, the way that they perceive me initially might be influenced by my already positive perception of most people, which is I think about that quite a lot in relation to boundaries and people pleasing and that kind of thing, and whether or not that it's always good to have that kind of mentality. But those kindness and being willing to defend myself are two separate things. Anyway, this is all just to say that I could see right there is like I slip right into it where I just talk about it because I love to talk about it. I love to think that way. I love to analyze myself and be aware of the way that I am. Be aware of my own being, my own mind, of the single person that I talk to every single day is me. And so I feel like I've gotten to know me pretty well over the years. As much as my interests are coalescing around health and longevity and exercise and diet and sleep, it seems to me that those are underpinned by a philosophy of understanding, of reaching and deepening my understanding of myself. And it's a constant practice. I cannot purport to know myself properly, totally. And that's, while it's simultaneously frustrating, it is interesting. It's effortless at this point because it's always, which is a nice place to be, but the further I get into this, the harder it is to really express what I mean, which is a challenge when it comes to productizing this. But that's what brings me back to the Dan Coe idea. If I can make a personal brand of these kinds of discussions, that opens me up to being invited to webinars and that kind of idea, being introduced to the social circle of people who enjoy talking about these sorts of things. It might let me generate one of my own. Anyway, thank you sincerely for your time. This will be the end of this episode. Hope to see you again.